Hi there. The team lists are in, and that can only mean that it is time for Team List Tuesday and our weekly previews and predictions. As always, my ever-reliable partner, Luke Jobson, is here to take me through all the lineups, give our predictions. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, mate, pretty good. I think this is, only the first or second time that you're up at the crack of dawn and not me. So I'm enjoying this 4 p.m. recording time. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, we've got to get it out as soon as the teams come out. It seems that that's what everyone wants, so that's what we're doing. So yeah, let's jump straight into it then. Roosters versus Cowboys, opening game of the round. Roosters only one real change, and that is obviously Tupou out for with a syndesmosis injury, and Hall comes in. Everyone called it. The Cowboys with plenty of changes though. How do you see this one playing out?
Mate, I have Roosters 13+. There's no other way to look at it. You did miss Boyd Cordner out. He had
Boyd Cordner as well.
He had a head knock, so they're going to rest him this week. Orbison comes in, and Lockie Lamb onto the bench. But yeah, I think one of them. I mean, we'll get to what I think is the most surprising change later on in the recording. But Tabuai-Fidow at fullback, Holmes to the wing with Lemuelu in the centres. That's I don't know about that one. I really don't know about that one.
Yeah, that's sketchy. I mean, in the review last week, we called out that Masters was your most defensively suspect player, and yet he's still there. O'Neill gets dropped. I get that he bombed 2 tries last week, but I don't think it was worthy dropping him. Shift him to the centres, drop Masters, and put Loom. If you're going to play Lumalu, put him on the wing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Again, O'Neill, I think, was more injured than dropped, but Tom Opachik scored twice in 2 weeks. Defensive, yes, I know that was the side that, he kind of got shown up by Wonga Blake, but you're going to keep Isan Masters in, who has played like absolute dog poop for the last couple of weeks. But again, we're not NRL coaches for a reason. Yeah. Hampton again on the bench in the 14, kind of that utility player. We saw that last week coming on for O'Neill when he came off. But I can't see this going any other way than Roosters 13+. They'll run it straight at Taumalolo, even with Nat Butcher in the guts, instead of Victor Radley, who arguably is probably that better defensive player. The Roosters are going to come out firing. They know that they have a lot of making up to do after bombing the 10, 12-point lead with 9 minutes to go last week. And don't be surprised for Supercoach purposes if Tedesco goes 100+.
Yeah. I tell you what, as we previously mentioned, Cowboys, one good half, one bad half. You'd have to think at half-time, if they're trailing by a good distance, is that their good half or bad half? So I can see the Roosters clocking up a few points here. If the Cowboys go back into the shell like they tend to do at the end of the first half, then the Roosters are just going to they're going to run them. There's no 2 ways about it. The Roosters 13+, easy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sportsbet at the moment has them at $1.80, so I'm more than happy to jump on that. That's easy money there.
And Lachlan Lamb, as you mentioned, coming in as well. They've obviously got a few thoughts on what happens to Jake Friend, because Lamb can come in and play 9, give a Friend a little bit of respite. So it's not a bad option as a fallback. Will he get used? I think if the Roosters push up a good lead, then yeah.
Yeah, potentially. There's no one really in the extended squad that may take his spot. Hutchison has played hooker before, named in the 19. But yeah, I think, Lockie Lamb is a solid fullback. He's got a little bit of speed, can play 6 and 7. Maybe a 10, 15-minute respite at the 60-minute mark or the 70-minute mark if, as we think, the Roosters are just screaming ahead for Jake Friend. But, yeah, it's just As the weeks go on, you have to think that Paul Green's just starting to feel a little bit of pressure.
Yeah. And I tell you, Holmes to the wing, maybe at test level, Holmes on the wing. Holmes on the wing at any other time. I mean, the guy's on what, $1 million? Nobody pays $1 million for wingers. So Val Holmes is wasted out there. He's going to be wasted because if you're going to try and go to the edges, the Roosters are not the team you want to go to the edges against. You got the absolutely ageless Morrises. Maybe if you try and get outside Hall, you've seen that Hall can maybe come in a couple times, but it's a tough ask.
And yeah, last point before we move on, Ryan Hall, due for an NRL try. He's still good for 200 metres every game. He's a big, stocky lad. If there's going to be a game in which he scores, it's no better than this one.
Yeah. So what's your tip for this one then? You're saying Roosters 13?
Yeah, Roosters, like I said, Roosters 13 plus, paying out at $1.80. Ryan Hall, for those interested, paying $1.83 for any time try scorer. I'm not going to put money on that just because we know his track record, but I could see it going that way. Yeah, Roosters 13 plus at $1.80. Yeah,
I'm going to join you on that one. I'm also going to say Roosters to win both halves.
Yeah, free money there, I think.
Right then, so we move on to another interesting game, and that is the Titans and the Warriors. The Titans have made quite a few changes, it's got to be said. Most are going to be enforced due to injury, and they just don't have the depth at the minute.
No, not at all. Corey Thompson back in the fullback role. Bo Firma, who was probably the debut of the week last week for the Titans, scoots in at centre alongside Bryce Cartwright, which you haven't seen the Cardi party there for a long time. Tremaine Spry, he comes in on the other wing for his debut. Sam Stone in the second row, replacing where Thurma initially was. Mitch Rain out. Aaron Clark gets the starting nod over Tana Boyd. As for the Warriors, RTS back at fullback, Hiku into centre, Gerard Beale out. Harris Tavita in at 5'8" for Nicarima. Jazz Tavanga on the bench, back from injury. Lawton at lock with Tohu Harris back into his preferred second row spot. The betting odds have both teams at $1.90. Now, knowing that RTS is back and knowing that the Titans, outside of Kalen Ponga 2 weeks ago, have struggled with containing fullbacks, I have the Warriors as slight favourites, and I'm going the Warriors on the tip. The forward pack for me leans slightly towards the Warriors, even though the Titans have a standout prop in Moe Fotuaika. Sam Stone, a very good second rower. Hipgrave has just insane beef around him. I just think that the Warriors have, having those four forwards on the bench, it gives them a little bit more depth instead of Boyd as that hooker for the Titans. And I'm not going to lie, that back five just does not inspire confidence for me, because he's going to have David Spry will have David Fusatua trying to take a good old-fashioned specky over him at every potential opportunity.
Yeah, and the back line's what swayed it for me as well. I'm tipping Warriors too, and for the same reasons. I look at that back line again, doesn't fill me with confidence. Bryce Cartwright, not the most defensively sound player, that's been called out time and time again. Not got a great work rate either, so you put him in a position where he doesn't have to carry the ball so much. He's not going to come looking for work, that's for sure. Marlowe has been huge for the Warriors. Last week, ran for nearly 300 metres. He's going to be big coming off that back line. They're going to struggle to contain him. And I tell you what, you get Marlowe one-on-one with any winger in the competition, they're going to struggle. So I think for me, the back line is the big sway. It looks relatively evenly matched in the forwards. But I can see that the Warriors, when it comes to making meters upfield and putting them in that red zone, that's where the game's going to be won and lost for me. I don't see the Titans making as many meters that puts them into scoring opportunities. I think the forward pack is going to hold up okay, but when you've got players like Foster, even Patrick Herbert's not a small man, and Marlowe and Hiku all bringing it out off the back line, and RTS, who's got a point to prove because he missed last week, then it creates problems. So I'm going to say that this is a comfortable Warriors win for me.
Yeah, look, it's a tough one, and we've been kind of jolted around a bit by Titans fans for not picking them the last 2 weeks, and rightly so against Brisbane. I think it's going to be. I'm not going to say it's going to be a comfortable win. I think it's going to be a little closer than people think. Sportsbet have the Warriors on the pick your own line at 2.5. A 2.5 deficit, paying 227. That to me is a pretty good get. I'm trying to find the try bet as well in the margin markets. Either team 6.5. You could go 265, or the Warriors minus 6.5 at $3. It could go one of two ways. It could be a very close game and it comes down to a try, or the Warriors will go 13 plus. I'm going to go a little safe and say Warriors 2.5, the 2.5 deficit at 227. But in saying that, if the Warriors don't show up, the Titans very well could just run amok.
So I'm going to be slightly bolder in my prediction here. I'm going to take that minus 6.5, which is I feel is about right. I don't see there being a converted try in this. And I'm going to say RTS, Foster Tua, and Mamalo all on the anytime try scorer.
Yeah, I'll give you Foster Tua and RTS. I'm not quite ballsy enough to go the back three completely, but I will go Foster and RTS.
I can see it happening. Mamalo's only getting better with week in, week out, and coming up. I think if you're going by numbers and numbers alone, he comes up against Anthony Don. Yeah, he's a good winger, very good in the air. But the Warriors have a habit of being able to strip teams on the edge, and if Mamalo gets barreling down that sideline, 20 meters out, he's in. So that's where I'm going with that one.
All right, I don't blame you. All right, let's get to the game where it's our only difference of the week.
Yep. So you've backed the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I've backed the Tigers in this one. Where's your head in this one?
The only change for the Bunnies is Braden Burns out. Bailey Sirenen comes in on the bench. To me, that's no big loss. The Roosters not the Roosters. Let's try that one again.
Right, go.
Yeah, the Bunnies only losing Braden Burns. Granted, he's gone for the year, but was only being used on the bench, so no big loss to their 17. Bailey Sirenen comes in, and while the Bunnies didn't look too good against the Dogs last week, it's a sign of a good team for me when, for the most part, you look like crap, but you can still get the win. And in the end, the scoreboard didn't really reflect that, but a 16-point win against the Dogs is always handy. As for the Tigers, BJ Leilua, he's gone for 4 weeks. Cheekham moves to the centres and Chris Lawrence on the bench. A couple of players in doubt with Mbai, Luciano Leilua, and Sam McIntyre, but all have been named. Defensively, the Tigers did not look great outside of their own 20. Within their own 20, it was some of the grittiest, toughest defense we've seen from them in a while. But I can't see it happening against this Rabbitohs team that, for the most part, is really good inside their own 20. Generally is able to capitalize from possession inside the opposition 20. And if they can't get the result, they'll get the repeat set. They had, 3 or 4 repeat sets in a row before the Bulldogs cracked, and they're happy just to chip away to get that pressure building. I did see on Twitter today that Benji Marshall was training with the starting squad, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Benji back, potentially in lieu of Josh Reynolds, who missed 7 tackles last week. But look, this is a tough one, but I'm going with my gut. My gut was right last week with, basically every game but the Roosters. There's no reason not to go against it this week. I'm saying the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, so I look at how the Rabbitohs have performed against some of the more informed teams in the comp, and I don't think they've pulled the win against a team that looks like they're going to make the 8 this year. Like they've not looked good against good teams is the problem here, and coming up against a Tigers team that's running pretty well. Went down 19-12 to the Panthers last week. Arguably, the Panthers are probably your second or third favourite for the comp. Like that's a good stead. Where Souths pull out not an easy win against a Bulldogs team that's, to be honest, pretty stripped for players at the minute. Lose their star forward. It for me that worries me. That worries me for Souths because they've got the talent. It's just that it's not clicking right now. And I get that when you get a new fullback, it's changed to your spine and you need to rework it and you need to give it time. I think it's too soon for Souths right now. I don't think that they're looking at their best. And for that reason, that's why I look at the Tigers and I think if you can hold Penrith 19-12, then you've got a good shot of not just beating Souths, but beating them by at least a converted try.
Yeah, look, the market has fluctuated a lot just in the couple of minutes that we've been talking. South Sydney, when we first started talking, were $1.46. They blew out to $1.60. They're now back into $1.54. There is no real betting market for me that stands out. I agree that this could be this could be a lot closer than I'm probably saying. I'm going to go South just head to head at $1.54. There's not much that is appealing for me otherwise. South's 1-12 potentially at $2.80. That's probably what I'll end up putting in my multi, but for those who want to play it conservative, Souths on the head-to-head at $1.54, I think is pretty good value.
Yeah. So I've just had a look at South's previous results. The only wins that they've got to their name so far come against the Titans, the Warriors, and the Dogs. So far this year, and the Sharks. Sorry. So far this year, they've been beaten by Penrith, the Sydney Roosters, and then of course the Melbourne Storm. So you look at that; those are strong teams.
That's 3 of the top 4 that most have for deep into the finals. The Tigers currently 8th. This is probably a true test over finals footy. Now that we are, we're basically halfway into the season now. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. Like I said, I'm going to go, and for the record, for anyone that does wonder, I do put a cheeky $5 on the tips that we give, throw them all into a multi. So we're putting money. We're both putting money on it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going South 1-12 in the multi. I've got the bunnies in as the tip. It's probably one that I'm a bit iffy on, but still, I have more confidence in saying Souths.
Yeah, so I'm leaning Tigers, so I'd go Tigers 1-12. If you really, really wanted to play it safe, you go either team 1-12 for me. This one's not going to be a blowout. There's not going to be more than 2 converted tries in this for me. So any team 1-12, or if you're feeling a little bit more cocky, go for the Tigers 1-12 for me.
Yep. Either team 1-12 at $1.62 for those wondering at the moment. And we're recording this Tuesday afternoon, 5 o'clock. So
Yeah.
That's a good shout, that.
Okay, then. So, on to the Sharks and the Panthers. And I'll be honest, I had a tougher time picking this one than I thought I would. The Panthers do look good. The Sharks looked brilliant last week. If the Sharks turn up and play like they did last week, this could be a tighter game than most have predicted. There is a bit of a change in the back line. Obviously, no Moylan. Dugan goes to fullback. Goodwin to centre. And Mulatalo is back. But to caveat that, Mulatalo might not be back because he is still technically doing rehabilitation on that injury. So don't be surprised to see Nene McDonald coming on the wing for his Sharks debut.
We spoke about it in the preview, saying that, this is going to be Will Kennedy's chance to really shine with some solid game time, and old mate Josh Morris has said, psych, we're going to put Dugan back there. I'm pretty high up on Kennedy. I think, as you said in the review last week, as a good, solid fullback. Nothing spectacular, but he does the job and he does it well. So an interesting change for me, because Dugan's been playing some of his best football in the last couple of years as a centre. Mulatalo, the USA international, a welcome addition for the Sharkies. The Panthers grinded out that win against the Tigers. There's no doubt about it. Jerome Luai had his best game. The only shift here is Fares in the centre for the Panthers. Brent Naden back onto the win where he scored 2 tries 2 weeks ago. This is a tough one. Cronulla have really started on the back of Sean Johnson finding some form here. They've really started to kind of start rolling here. They've got the potential to cause an upset if they, if they're playing as well as they have been the last couple of weeks. But I still can't see it happening. Cleary coming back off that not even coming back off the injury, just coming back from having his eyesight blurred to hell 2 weeks ago. Just was able to control the game and get the Panthers to where they needed to be. It's a tough one. It is a really tough one. I've gone the Panthers.
Yep.
And I'm going to go Panthers 1-12. But I will not be surprised if we see this one coming down to the last 5 minutes. Yeah.
I think interesting for me is the inclusion of Tyrone May at 14. So we've seen that Matt Burton has been occupying that bench spot and has been keeping it nice and warm for a little while. And now Tyrone May comes in. In fact, Matt Burton not even included in the 21, interestingly enough. Naden to the wing. It was always going to be a given. That'll keep him happy until the end of the season when Dean Farey eventually leaves. The Panthers, it's a tough one because if the Sharks do play like they did last week and just go out of their way to try and bully teams up the middle and then just have Johnson working around the pitch like he did, putting on some decent runs, recording some decent run meters, you could potentially see the Sharks stealing this one in the last 10. For me, though, I think the Panthers are going to have that clinical edge. Fisher Harris having his best season yet. Coruscant, signing of the year for any team for me. He's really come in, firmed up the Panthers' spine, makes it really good for their forwards to play off. Isaiah Yeo, probably one of the most underrated loosers in the comp right now. His subtlety and the amount of work that he gets through is just fantastic. You've got some big bodies on the bench as well. Tetevano, Leota, Burns coming in as well for the last sort of 15, 20 minutes. The Panthers have been going too well to tip against is basically my problem. And while I have a sneaking suspicion that the Sharks could grab a result from this one, I just think that the Panthers will come out better on this one. So I'm going to go for my safe bet there, Panthers 1-12. I don't see it being a blowout here.
Yeah, I agree with you. Panthers 1-12, paying $3 on Sportsbet at the moment, $2.80 for 13 plus, which I think is a little interesting from a betting market perspective. So I think, plenty of value there for those who want to go Panthers.
Yeah. So we will get off that game then, and you are now going to tell us why the Broncos are going to lose this week.
You've given up on them, have you?
I've lost all hope. I said it in the review show last week. I've ended my abusive relationship with the Brisbane Broncos. They will not hurt me anymore. I will not buy into these lies that there will be big spinal shake-ups and Dearden's going to start. I'm done with that. The Bulldogs are going to win this one. You tell us why.
Yeah, look, we are both tipping the Bulldogs on this one. The halves have not sparked any confidence for the Broncos. I'll tell you what, this is going to be closer than we think. It is going to be closer than we think. Xavier Coates is going to have a field day on the wing. If Milford and Croft and Dearden, when he comes on, gets their kicks right, Coates could go for a double, like he did last week. The issue is Kieran Foran and Brandon Wakeham have looked so much better the last couple of weeks than any Brisbane halves combination this year. And you can speak for Luke Thompson. I'm not going to talk. I haven't seen him play, but the dude is, from all accounts, an absolute beast. The forward pack, I think the Broncos have in the props. But when you have Josh Jackson, Faitala Mariner, and Luke Thompson running around in the back row against Glenn, Oates, and Carrigan, you give that one to the Bulldogs. Oh, I'm second guessing myself here. No, I'm staying with the Bulldogs. I'm staying with the Bulldogs at the $2.50 outsider. And that will they're $2.30 now. Sorry. That's my tip. That is my betting tip. I'm going Dogs head to head at $2.30. I think that's superb value. If you really want to get frisky, I think Foran slides through for a try. He's currently paying. Oh, where are you, Kieran Foran? Paying $6 for an anytime try scorer. He's been in a little bit of form trying to find the white chalk recently. So if you want to get frisky, that's one for your same game multi. But look, I'm going to let you talk about Luke Thompson because I think he could be the game breaker here.
The guy runs like he's absolutely bomb-proof. Like you see a player off like a back line or a dropout come barreling forward, and you think, oh Jesus, he really doesn't care whether he gets hurt or not. That's Luke Thompson on every single run. The guy is frightening, and he's fast too. Like he scored like a 60-meter try in one of his last games in the Super League, while he was playing prop, and the fullback struggled to run him down. He's freakish. The guy is terrifying. There's no two ways about it. Yes, he'll have had a little bit of downtime, so he'll be a bit rusty. But with any player that's fresh to a new comp, they'll want to impress. So he's going to make some good meters. Expect to see him flying out the line, looking for some of those forwards. Pangai Jr., I reckon, will have a target on his head for Thompson. Getting into the Bulldogs team, as you mentioned, Foran and Wakeham looking incredibly dangerous. Foran's running game coming on leaps and bounds. I'd probably join you on that tip of Foran anytime try scorer. We've seen it before. The Broncos tend to overslide and overcommit. That's perfect for a player like Kieran Foran, who's got the speed 20, 30 metres out just to back himself over the line. I mean, Corey Oates now up into the second row. Okay, you're making the best of a bad situation. I get that there's a lot of injuries. If you look at the two packs side by side, I mean, you got Carrigan going up against Thompson, Faitala Mariner versus Oates, Jackson versus Glenn, Napa versus Haas. Big bodies everywhere. It's going to be a really physical game, and it's going to be won and lost in the middle. Neither of these teams is fond of playing to the edges. I'd say the Dogs are more inclined to go to the edges simply because they've got the halves that actually find them. Whereas everything that Milford and Croft touch right now just turns to absolute garbage. So I can see the Bulldogs sneaking one out in a 1-12 here for me.
All right. I will say, we have harped on the how the Broncos and how bad they've been. For the record, Dogs 1-12 at 375. If they're going to win this, they're going to go to the air. Isako and Coates both have some very good hands, both dumb tall, going up against two wingers who aren't too good in the air, in Meaney and Crichton. Obviously, that means they've got to get in the right position first. They've got to get down to the right end of the field. But if the Broncos do that, I'm not going to rule them out. Look. I know either way that I go, I have a bad feeling I'm going to get hurt on this one. I'm sticking with the Dogs, but I will not be surprised if the Broncos go for Coates, 2 tries or more, Isako anytime, and as I said, I'm going for an anytime for the Dogs.
Yeah, I'd say that you're right on the money there. As you mentioned, the Broncos have got to get into those positions to score those points, and that's where I don't have the greatest of confidence in them. And speaking of greatest of confidence, it's a repeat of arguably one of the games of the year. The Raiders managed to grab a result in the reverse fixture of this. So it's Raiders versus Storm. Storm with a few changes. Raiders making a couple as well. Dynamis Louis coming in at prop. Kotrick back to his preferred position of wing. No Curtis Scott even in the 21 this week. Rapana. Yeah, with common sense prevails, and then for some reason it takes a drastic U-turn and you put Rapana at 17.
I think I'm okay with Rapana being there because he did play outside centre in the 2 games he played rugby union. So we've seen him play fullback, so he can cover 1 to 5, something that Kotrick can't do. I think he'll probably take off Simonson after 65 minutes. And, we've seen that the utility back for the Raiders can be a spark just with how they play and how they like to spread the ball late. The issue that I see with the Raiders, and I've tipped the Storm in this one, is that their depth is starting to become an issue. Havili, O'Donnell, Sutton, and Rapana on the bench. Havili's been playing lights out, don't get me wrong, but he's not an out-and-out prop. O'Donnell on debut. Sutton, again, pretty good player, but not really huge impact. And then you look at the reserves. Tom Starling, who could barely get a run at Souths in the 18. Darby Medlin, I can't say I've heard too much about him. Don't really know where he plays, what he does. Matt Frawley, an out-and-out half. Curtis Scott in the 21. Depth there, not exactly the greatest thing. For the Storm, the only change is Marion Seve on the wing, replacing Vunivalu, who's out with a hamstring injury. Riley Jacks will start in the halves. Smith named in the 9. And the cheese in Brandon Smith onto the bench. While I see the Raiders winning the prop battle, I think that the Storm they have better depth on the bench. They've got some big bodies in Fasilmo, Big Tino. I'm going with Big Tino. If I want to be a broadcaster, I've got to get these right. But Big Tino is what we're going with for now. And Asaf Solomona. Eisenhuth probably had his best game in a Storm jersey last week. Only played 25 minutes, but my God, he looked good. Look, I'm going the Storm this one. This is a tough one. This is a really tough one to pick. The Raiders are superb at home. The Storm, I don't think have beaten them in the last 3 games, but they also haven't lost in Canberra since 2016. I do remember seeing that, I think, in one of the Storm groups. So the market leaning towards the Raiders, just favourites at $1.86 compared to $1.95. This very well could go to Golden Point. It very well could go to Golden Point. I'm going either team by 8 or less at $1.91. I think it will be a very tight game. I've gone the Storm for my outside tip. Look, this is a tough one. I'm tossing up. Oh, never mind. I'm going the Storm. The Storm, If you go to Sportsbet on the pick your own line, are -1.5 at 202. That's one you can cash out on. I'm taking that every day of the week. I think the Storm win this. I think they win it by 2+. The Storm at 202 for a 1.5 giveaway. I'm taking that.
Yeah, I'd be pushing it out a little. I think you could get it out to a -3.5. I think the Storm will win this one by a try at least. I just think that the depth. I mean, as you mentioned, the Raiders' starting lineup is very good, but their bench isn't the best. And for those reasons, I think that the Storm can and will run this one out. I mean, you look at the players they've got on the bench. Tino, as you mentioned, Brandon Smith, when he comes on, that side lifts massive amounts. So, and Finucane, really good loose forward as well. Asafa Solomona, when he comes on, he just eats through the meters, attracts a lot of attention, and he's good for a couple offloads as well. That second phase is going to be where the Storm really come up trumps for me. So I'm going to go Storm -3.5.
I'll tell you what, me offering the tip to everyone, Storm 1.5. I will go with your 3.5 though at 227. That's nice. That's nice. I'm probably being a bit greedy there, but I do like that.
Okay, then. So then we will move on to the Knights versus the Eels. The Knights with a couple enforced changes. Hoy now to the wing immediately. That's a big scream out for me. Edric Lee gone with a suspected broken arm. And Toa now onto the bench as well with, the usual runner forwards. Jones coming into the bench as well. Guerra moved off the bench into the second row. It's a pretty bleak outlook for the Knights right now, based on coming up against the competition leaders in Parramatta. And it's got to be said, even with a few changes to the Parramatta side, they still, to a man, look pretty strong.
My mouth salivates at this contest. Not necessarily from a Parramatta Eels perspective, but just from God, it looks so good. Just listen to this forward pack. Clemmer, Saifidi, Fitzgibbon, Guerra, SAS. Guerra probably stands out as the weak link there, but if you think about it, 3 years ago, he was an Australian rep. Of course, you have McCulloch in there too. I'm excluding the hookers out of this. Against Campbell Gillard, Junior Paulo, Lane, Mattison, Nathan Brown. Tell me that does not make your mouth salivate.
It's going to be a big bust up in there.
A 4 p.m. Sunday game at McDonald's Jones with probably 8 or so thousand in there. Oh, give me that. I think what we'll see at the end of the week is Toa go to the wing and text Hoy back to the bench. I can't see Hoy starting there, especially if he goes against Sivo, because he's going to get run over.
That would be, as far as suicidal decisions go, that would be way up there. Putting someone, Tex Hoy, yeah, okay, he's played in the middle a little bit. He's come up against some big players. Sivo at full speed, trundling down the sideline, is not like being in the middle coming against a prop when you've got a couple players around you. Hoy is going to struggle there. Any winger's going to suffer. And I'll look to the edges. I mean, Bradman Best, Heimel Hunt, Ineri Tuala, and Tex Hoy. They're not anywhere close for me to Sivo, Jennings, Wonga, Blake, and Ferguson. If the Eels push it to the edges, and they have a habit of doing that, then you take the forward pack out of the game completely. The forward pack will be just essentially used to limit the Knights' meters, and the Eels will go to the edges and they'll start running over players.
The one thing that I think will hamper the Eels is Jai Field, and I'm not saying this because he's not a good player. We saw that last week. He ran rampant over the Cowboys, but from what I saw in the stands, I haven't gone back and watched the game the game broadcast, it looks like he can only attack on one side.
Yes.
He supports very well around the back on Ferguson's wing, but he doesn't generally give it. He's more than willing to be out the back and to give to Jennings or to Sivo. So if the Knights are able to slide and shut down the attacking options for Sivo and Jennings, get on them really early, they've got a chance here. But if not, Sivo, assuming Hoy is still there, is going to have a field day. In terms of, I do want to say also very, very quickly, Stefano, let's see if I can get this one right. Utoikamanu?
I think so.
That's I'm going to give that a pretty good guess. I'm sorry if I butchered it. Getting his debut finally for Parramatta, probably a couple of weeks too late, or a couple of years too late, sorry, with him going to the Tigers in all likelihood next year. But really good to see him getting a start, a big, beefy body. He's going to have some fun going up against Clemmer, the Saifidi twins, and Solo. My betting tip for this one, Sivo anytime try scorer and Para to win is $2.40 for the win try combo on Sportsbet. I will have a quick look and see if we can get some better value on the same game multi. I highly doubt it. Anytime try scorer, old mate, Micah also. Oh yeah, you can get Eels to win and Micah Sivo anytime try scorer for $2.70 is the same game multi. Use that instead of Sivo score, Eels win on the singles. I'm going with that.
Yeah, I'd be leaning towards that as well. I mean, Sivo's in exceptional form. For last week, you got to think that he's going over again this week against a substantially smaller back five. I mean, the Eels, as mentioned, Field is a support player. Brown, although he's wearing the 6, will play as the 7, and Field will just be there, moving the ball around a little bit and getting into a few gaps. The Eels, for me, even with the forward pack, I don't see the Knights standing up in this one. I'd say Eels minus 3.5 at very least. I think you could even push it out to 5.5, and that way it covers you on the converted try. The Eels they look the part this season. It does honestly look like if they can hold up this good towards the back end of the season and be consistent through the finals, it honestly I wouldn't be surprised to see the Eels, lifting the trophy at the end of the year.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me as a Parramatta supporter is the lack of big game experience for the Eels when it gets to that part of the season. We saw that last year, how they kind of crumbled a little bit under the pressure. Hopefully the roster is better off for the experience, but you know what? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm not holding my hopes up just yet, but I am starting to save some money for a grand final ticket, just saying.
Right then, we move to the last game of the round then, Dragons versus Sea Eagles. This one probably was one of the more difficult games to pick. The Sea Eagles now are without numerous stars, losing Fanua Blake after his post-time spray there, and now Tanela Paseka comes in. The Dragons, it's got to be said, they're looking better and better with each week, although big change, McInnes into 13, Hunt into 9 to start. That's the first time we've seen that. You tipped that last week. So
I didn't expect to see that so soon. I'll admit, recording this, it's the first time I've seen that team list. I would have thought maybe in a couple of weeks, but not straight away. But Nostradamus, hello, how are you? The thing, I've tipped the Dragons on this one. The thing I think that worries me is that the Dragons played superbly for 20 minutes last week against the Raiders. By the time that the game was probably done and dusted at 22-zip. The Dragons did superbly well to get it back to 22-16. I applaud Matt Duffy and Zach Lomax for helping me out with my multi. But it's tough. Now, You have Croker in the 6 for Manly. I would not be too surprised if we see Cust come into the 6 and Croker to the bench. Cade Cust has been one of Manly's best players over the last 2 weeks since coming into this side. And arguably, if he goes to another club next year, now, I haven't heard rumours, I'm not going to start a rumour, but if he goes somewhere that's not Manly next year, he could very well start in the 6. Warriors. Sorry, bad cough. Like I said, I'm going the Dragons. For me, this was the toughest one to pick. But I need to study the betting markets before I offer up a tip. So, Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, the Dragons, what worries me about the Sea Eagles is you look at their team. On paper, you look at the Dragons and you go, the Dragons have a better team, they win. The Sea Eagles somehow every single week turn up and just cause countless headaches for teams. I mean, that Sea Eagles side last week should not have run a Newcastle side of that quality that close. It just shouldn't have happened. And it worries me, that ability to keep on turning up. So, and against a team like the Dragons that are down on confidence and looking a little bit ropey in spots, that the Sea Eagles definitely could sneak a win, which is a real worry. But I'm gonna have to back the Dragons this week. The Hunt McInnes combination's working flawlessly. The centres are making meters and scoring tries. I mean, Pereira's back in for Saab. Thank God. I mean, Saab, that experiment didn't work out. Let the kid go at the end of the season. If he's saying, I've got offers lined up elsewhere, just off you go then, pal. Don't you worry about it. The forward pack, I mean, they've had to bring in Boyle now because Paseka comes in to start for adding Fanua-Blake. Fanua-Blake's good for 250 metres a game. That's a huge deficit to try and fill. And Paseka's an impact player. He's not a starting player. So, I mean, for those reasons, I am going to have to lean towards the Dragons. That's not to Manly's discredit, because I still think that they will run them close. I still think that Manly will turn up and create issues, but I just don't see them winning this one. So I'm gonna say any team 1 to 12, or at least Dragons. If you're feeling you want a bit of safety, but Dragons 1 to 12 for me is the bet on this one. It's not going to be a blowout. It's going to be a close run thing. The Dragons, I think, take it in the last 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm going with you on the safety there. Any time, or either team 1 to 12 at $1.57. This has the potential to be a converted try game, so I'm more than happy to take that. The Dragons have looked really good in the last 20 minutes, the last couple of weeks. That is the only concern for me. The Dragon, never mind. I'm changing that. I am changing that, ladies and gentlemen. Hold the phone. We are going the Dragons, at least from a money standpoint. Dragons plus 4.5 is $1.64 for a little bit more value there. Either team 1 to 12, again, if you want to play it safe, because I do think that is a fair shout. But in terms of a bit of value, Dragons plus 4.5 at $1.64. I'm going to jump on that.
Yeah, that's a decent shout, is that? Well, that is all the games summed up so far. That is all the lineups gone through, all the team lists reviewed. We'll just have to wait and see how this one plays out. But it's going to be a very close week. Expect a few multis to go down. Expect a few tight games and a few very close run affairs. I'm looking forward to this week. It's going to be a good week of rugby league. But thanks for joining us again. If you're enjoying the content, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and join us on Monday morning for the round review, and we'll let you know how we went on. Thanks for coming.